Welcome to Behind the Investigation with Atlanta News First Investigates. I am Sierra Cummings, joined now by investigative reporter Andy Parati. You've got a fantastic story for us today.
Yeah, so this is about a man who his family believed died kind of unexpectedly. They thought he just died of natural causes. He was over 90 years old, but then they got a hold of his medical records. A notepad full of reminders.
Steve Lowe came over today to visit me because...
From Paul Lowe, a husband who loved his family.
How you doing?
I'm good.
And to be in the know.
There are a couple of trailing showers moving through.
TV was on 24/7, and whatever was on the news or on TV, he put these little notes in there. There was a shark attack in Hawaii. 5 men in Germany were convicted of a jewelry heist. One of the last notes I have, and I'm putting this in writing, not to buy any more ice cream. Because he knew if I brought it home, he would eat it, so.
Moments of Paul's life on paper, no longer around to share his thoughts after his family believes a Metro Atlanta hospital failed to do its job. This past May, the 93-year-old grandfather went to Piedmont Eastside Medical Center in Snellville to get treated for pneumonia. He died less than a week later. Devon Gardner is Paul's daughter.
And the first thing I thought of was this sure was quick, but not really suspecting that anything had happened to him.
Something did happen. About 3 months after Paul's death, his wife says she got a call from Piedmont Hospital notifying her that medical staff made a mistake.
And I said, well, was it morphine? And she said yes. And the reason I said that is because I remembered when I had gone back to the hospital, there was this confusion.
Paul's wife Betty says the hospital told her it accidentally overdosed her husband on morphine, administering about 60 times more than prescribed. Natalie Woodward is the family's attorney.
So this is a problem with a major problem because it is not just 1 or 2 milligrams more, it's 60. This was a lethal dose of morphine.
But that's not the end of the story. After the family met with Piedmont Hospital, they took a look at Paul's medical records themselves. And here's what they found, according to the family's lawsuit against the hospital. A prescription for morphine was ordered on May 30th at 5:25 p.m. Paul starts receiving it at 6:10 p.m., but it's at a rate 60 times more than prescribed. Nearly 5 hours later, a nurse notifies the doctor about the overdose and asks to use Narcan to reverse it. The doctor declines. Paul is pronounced dead at 3:45 the next morning. Would there ever be a reason for not trying Narcan?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of.
Dr. Randall Tackett is a professor at the College of Pharmacy at the University of Georgia, speaking to Atlanta News First broadly about morphine overdoses and how to respond to it.
Typically, the sooner after you notice the overdose or you start seeing signs is you start hitting them with Narcan.
Paul had a do not resuscitate order in his medical record, but his family believes that's no excuse not to save him because the hospital allegedly made the mistake.
Dessert can make you happy.
The family's attorney believes Paul's age played a role in the hospital's alleged inaction.
It is incumbent upon them to take these situations seriously, regardless if it's somebody who's 3 or 93.
According to the National Institute of Health and the Mayo Clinic, medical errors in hospitals result in approximately 100,000 people dying each year, and morphine is among the top 10 drugs involved with mistakes.
It's occurring and can occur, and it shouldn't occur if people are carefully giving it, monitoring them.
A grandfather who preserved his memories through his pen, and a family who feels they were robbed of their own memory. A chance to say goodbye.
Yeah, I feel like no one has the right to take somebody else's life.
Andy, this is just such an incredibly sad story. Your heart really breaks for that family. I'm wondering, though, What has the hospital said about all of this?
Atlanta News First did reach out to Piedmont Hospital for some sort of statement, some sort of response, but they did not provide one. We know that the family's attorney reached out to Piedmont Hospital months before our story aired because we have copies of those letters. But according to Mr. Lowe's family's attorney, they did not engage with them meaningfully to try to address their concerns.
So what's next in this civil process? The family obviously has this attorney, but do we know what comes next?
Well, it's in pending litigation, and these things take months,
Sometimes years.
Yeah.
There is another expert that weighed in on this case other than the UGA professor that you just heard in the piece. It's a doctor who works at the Veteran Affairs Administration in Washington, D.C. He also took a look at Mr. Lowe's medical records, and this is what he said, according to a sworn affidavit. Medical care providers knew that Mr. Lowe would likely have died within minutes or hours of being given this overdose of morphine if not action was taken to administer Narcan to reverse the effects of the morphine overdose. And that is Dr. Matthew Tuck. He also believes, to add insult to injury, that based on Mr. Lowe's previous history with kidney disease, he should not have been given morphine at all.
Wow. I mean, you've done a lot of work on cases related to DNRs. I want to get your take, just your initial reaction when you were uncovering all of the documents related to the situation. I'm sure you were kind of shocked.
Yeah, so this gentleman did have a do not resuscitate order put in his medical records, meaning that if things went south, he didn't want hospital or doctor staff to try to continue to resuscitate him.
Yeah.
The family, though, says that that's really no excuse. The hospital allegedly knew that they overdosed him, and it was incumbent upon them to try to, keep him alive because they're the ones that allegedly made the mistake.
Wow. Yeah, very important part of that story. So thank you so much for this work. We will be watching to see what happens next in the civil process. You've been watching Behind the Investigation with Atlanta News First Investigates. Be sure to watch and listen wherever you get your podcasts and streaming services. Thank you. Have a great one.